Hey, YouTube family friends. This is Crockett 36, Randy Van Dyke, and this is my Axis and Allies life currently. I'm a UPS driver, and in the middle of peak right now. I'm going to try to squeeze out a video, but the big one I wanted to address today was this Allied Playbook draft on AxisandAllies.org. So I thought it's quite a robust discussion, and then it died down. And then Taamvan came up with a nice synopsis, and I thought I'd read it in case you didn't get to it. It is pretty good. Welcome to the Allied Playbook 1.0. So, this article is a compilation of the best Allied strategies as proposed by Crockett 36. These ideas are gambits, stratagems that the community developed for the original rule set, though most of them are useful for modified games. I present the moves and buys and an overall plan. Then I briefly lay out the problems with that plan. These are not how to win, beat the Axis plans. That would be too complex and conditional. When plans are developed by others, I've tried to give credit, and most of the plans have been fleshed out by the A&A community. My version of another contributor's plan may depart from theirs for the sake of simplicity. Russia Armored Mobility. Buy moves. Russia 1, buy 6 armor. Russia 2, buy more armor and mechs. Move everything to Bryansk, Belarus, so that it threatens any German stacks. Plan: instead of building a bastion of infantry, this plan uses mobility troops to threaten the Germans as they approach. If Germany declares war early, the Russians force them to stack up in East Poland and stick together, slowing the offensive down. If Germany doesn't declare war on G1, G2, and doesn't move anything east, these units can stack up on the border along with everything else the Russians have and force Germany into a risky early battle. Infantry and artillery produce little threat, and so this plan gives Russia more options. Problems: without a giant, massive infantry to protect them, the tanks and factories are vulnerable. Germany has many infantry, armor, and air units that even if you put everything Russia has in the east into one territory, they can still destroy it. Russians NO gambit. Moves: keep the one armor and mech from Stalin. Keep the one armor and one mech from Stalingrad and Caucasus. When Russia enters the war, liberate northwest Persia. Build 1 to 3 more mechs and one armor. Russia 3 to 5, liberate Persia and Iraq. Russia 6 plus, liberate Ethiopia and Somalia. Russia 8 plus, liberate Sicily and Sardinia using friendly Allied transports. Oh, that's good. Plan: Russia exploits its special NO for taking Axis and pro-Axis territory, gaining more income. Problems: this diverts crucial Russian mobility pieces away from the defense of the homeland. UK cannot take out the Italians in Ethiopia if Russia wants it. Russia can't afford IC and units in Iraq and Persia, so the opportunity to build them there with the richer allies is lost. The plan is complex and takes a long time to execute, so Russia may die in the meantime. Spanish beachhead. Moves: US 1 to 4, plenty of transports and fighters. UK the same. Plan: violate Spanish neutrality to establish a beachhead early in the game. Build a factory in Spain, then use Gibraltar port to move back and forth from the US coast to in a shuck-shuck. This is the best way to attack Axis-held France directly on land. Problem: Germany can take advantage of neutrality breach to get a boost in troops and income, especially if UK doesn't demolish Turkey the same turn US takes Spain. Germany can also build the French factory to block you, and if they see your plan potentially overwhelm the Allies before they can build it in force and take the factory back from you. Allied dark skies. Buy moves: US 1 to 5 build, primarily strategic bombers. Plan: strategic bombers are the only U.S. unit with enough mobility to get over to the center of the map before the Axis own most of that territory. Fly the bombers to UK, then on to Moscow. Use the massive threat of the bombers to demolish any German fleet hiding in the Baltic or Med. Use their mobility to zap whichever land or sea units that are exposed. Fly the bombers to Moscow to act as casualties or Alpha Strike Axis blockers. And exposed units. Problem: U.S. can't build much else when it is spending its money on bombers, and planes can't take or hold territory. Many of the potential attacks will be made without other U.S. units, so only high-value bombers can be taken as casualties. Germany has access to so many factories, 2 major, 5 minor by G4. It is difficult to suppress them all. Allied units in Russia ruin a Russia NO, national objective. Northlock. Moves. R1. Move 20 Russian units to Sakha. Russia 2 to 4. 20 U.S. Russia units to Amur. U.S. 1 to 3 by 4 to 5 strategic bombers. Russia, U.S. 4 to 6 more bombers and fleet. Plan: the U.S. can threaten Sea Zone 6 with a newly built strategic bombers and land in Amur. Along with a threatening U.S. fleet, Sea Zone 6 isn't safe, and Japan must protect it or lose its ability to place new units. The Japanese will often attack Russian units left on the coast, but as they move south to take the money territories, the Russians step up and the U.S. has a safe landing zone. Once the bombers are safe in Amur, they can strap bomb Japan proper. Problems: the Russian troops can't help in the defense of Moscow. Since Russia goes before Japan, the Allies would have to guess about when Japan intends to declare war and step up to the coast. The strategic bombers don't add defense, and Amur is too far away for U.S. fighters to help. Southlock. Moves. UK 1, transport with 2 units. 3 planes land on Java. Z1, transport with 2 units, plus 3 planes land on Java. Plan: block the Spice Islands bonus for as long as possible and fly away to safety if Japan comes at this node in force. This is a way to get the planes in India without the threat of destruction. With 3 sacrificial air allied ships, this node can be screened out, 37, 43, and 44, even if Japan has control of a port. Problems: you can't use the planes and ships to do other useful things, and UK can't take Sumatra and or Persia. Northlock and Southlock can be used as a combined strategy. U.S. over the top. U.S. 1 to 4, build transports and a fleet with at least 14 hits. U.S. 4 to 6, liberate Norway. U.S. 5 to 8, liberate Finland and build industrial complexes in both Norway and Finland. Liberate Leningrad. UK builds fighters. Plan: once the U.S. enters the war, the U.S. takes Norway. It can attack from Sea Zone 91, though that leaves it all the more vulnerable. In the more vulnerable Sea Zone 112, it can approach from above, landing in Sea Zone 125. This ruins a German bonus. Once the German Baltic fleet is dead, there isn't anything they can do to recover the lost income or stop these factories pouring out aid to Russia. Problem: the U.S. fleet and ground forces are vulnerable to interdiction as long as the German Navy is hiding in the Baltic, and the German Luftwaffe is on West Germany. This plan takes a long time to come to fruition. UK and Russia can't liberate either territory and still have the U.S. build factories there. Yunnan stack. Russia 1. Declare war on Japan. Move 1 fighter and 1 TB from Moscow to Yunnan and 1 armor and 1 Mach to Sikang. Use Russian pieces to keep China alive. Plan: make it harder for Japan to cut the Burma Road bonus and smash China. Problems: this diverts crucial Russian mobility pieces away from the defense of the homeland. Without extra China bid infantry, the Russians can still easily crush Yunnan. The stack is difficult to move forward because Russia goes before Japan and other allies after Japan. The plan doesn't cause Japan some headaches, but doesn't help the Russians survive. The Berlin bank job. U.S. takes Denmark. UK transits Danish Strait to capture Germany. Plan: the Allies take advantage of a German player who leaves Denmark and Germany lightly or undefended. In a 1-2 punch, the U.S. captures Denmark, opening the door for the UK to sail into the Baltic and amphibiously land into Germany, capturing Berlin and stealing Germany's money. Executed at the right time, this move can save Moscow by preventing Germany from purchasing new units for at least 1 turn. Also, the UK gets a huge one-time income bonus. Problem: in order to keep the German player from becoming alarmed or reinforcing Denmark and Germany, the Allies can't have a huge troop build up in advance of the operation. This means that minimal forces must be used, which means that these units committed to Denmark and Germany are essentially on a suicide mission. This includes any British naval units which enter the Baltic, as they'll be trapped there until Denmark is again liberated or killed by the Luftwaffe, whichever comes first. The plan forces the Germans to try and defend 3 separate territories, Denmark, West Germany, and Germany, which can leave them vulnerable. Taranto raid. UK 1SB, 2 to 3 fighters, TBCVCA, and DD attack the Italian Sea Zone 97. Plan: destroy most of Italy's transports before they rage. Italy is obligated to counterattack the survivors, leaving Italy with virtually nothing left on I-2. Helps ensure the survival of Egypt and keeps Italy away from the oil money. Problem: the UK fleet is lost. The Med is ripe to be cleared. If the CA in Sea Zone 91 is dead, a ship has to be diverted to kill the Italian DDTT in 95. Tobruk raid. The moves the US, the UK unit in Alexandria, and the UK transport to smash the 6 Italian units in Tobruk. Eliminate the land threat to Egypt. Problems: the Italian units are stuck there and can be whittled down with less risk over time. May divert forces from Taranto, which destroys more TUV and Italy's best units. Taranto and Tobruk can be combined into one strategy, though the risk increases since every UK unit in the region has a job to do and is on the line. The Jabastion moves. UK one buy an airbase for Gibraltar, move 3 fighters to Gibraltar. UK destroys the Italian blockers in 95, then moves everything it can to 92, which is 1 aircraft carrier, 2 fighters, 2 CAs, 1 to 2 DDs. Plan: keep a powerful UK fleet alive that can form the nucleus of a new home fleet even when Sea Zone 110, 111 were annihilated. Block the Italian clear Med bonus. Keep Gibraltar safe all game. Fly fighters directly to Egypt. Problems: this is an alternative to Taranto, and you can't do both. The Italians can attack Sea Zone 92 with everything they have in southern France, if southern France was taken by Germany, and potentially destroy the fleet. Spending on the airbase and moving the fighters to Gibraltar means UK homeland isles are vulnerable to a sea lion. Middle Earth. Moves: UK 1 liberate Persia, UK 2 build IC in Persia and liberate Iraq, UK 3 build IC in Iraq. Plan: this is the most powerful way to bring UK's Atlantic resources to aid UK PAC and Russia. Persia is the only space where you can fly newly built fighters directly to Moscow. Mechanized units can help UK PAC survive. Problems: UK can't take Sumatra, and UK PAC has less income. UK Atlantic has to be careful that it doesn't overspend in the Med and leave the home islands vulnerable. Best paired with Taranto to ensure Italy doesn't threaten the factories before they produce enough units to defend themselves. Entering Russia with Allied units ruins one of their national objectives. The Sneaky Carl. UK 2 to 3 move a DD among the Japanese fleet at peace in 36, then declare war on Japan with Anzac. Plan: Japan can't load their transports in hostile sea zone. They will often set up for a declaration of war by placing a big pile of ships and men on Kwangzi. This prevents them from taking the Spice Islands and ruins their war plans. Problem: can't be used during J1 declaration of war. Decouples the U.S. declaration of war from the other allies, so the U.S. sits out with minimum income for the maximum time. Japan can prevent the entire plan by leaving its ground units on the transports during the interturn. UK Anzac preemptive declaration of war. Moves: Z1 take Dutch New Guinea. UK 1 take Sumatra. UK 2 to 3 declare war with UK Anzac before Japan does. Plan. Get the NO for Hong Kong and both NOs for ANZAC, giving them maximum early income. Problem. Can't be used during J1 declaration of war. Decouples the U.S. declaration of war from the other allies, so the U.S. sits out with minimum income for the maximum time. ANZAC on deck. Moves. Z. 1 to 2, build 1 fighter. 3 to 5, more fighters and or subs. Plan. The U.S. will use its might to provide 2 to 3 extra empty carriers in 26 to accommodate up to 6 extra fighters from ANZAC. This increases the sea defense of the U.S. fleet so that the U.S. concentrates on subs or airplanes that increase striking power. Because the U.S. and Z both go after Japan, the U.S. can initiate a strike, and then ANZAC can use its fighters and subs to finish off any survivors. Problem. The ANZAC fighters can't help India or Moscow. The fighters are stuck on the Allied carriers in some situations, take up space that could be used to get the U.S. fighters and TB in current positions. Credits. Overall concept, Crockett 36, North Lock, South Lock, ANZAC on deck, Taamvan and Maphead. Spanish Beachhead, Young Grasshopper, Russian Mobility, Gargantua and Wedding Singer, Middle Earth, General Hand Grenade, Dark Skies, Allied Dark Skies, Cow, Sneaky Carl. One more gamut came to mind, and this guy mentions the Berlin bank job, which he edited in. Pipit Marsh says, love it. USA kicks open the door and UK steps through. Small suggestion, formatting. Taamvan cleaned it up. And then I wrote, excellent job, Taamvan. Exhaustive, great job, tremendous accomplishment, succinct. May I read this on my YouTube channel? This should be a sticky thing. Now on to advance the football. The next step might be to make up a book that could be sold at HBG or a Kindle edition or self-published. I'm not kidding. This has been a goal of mine, but I have, or printed out, by the way. This has been a goal of mine, but I haven't been able to get to it. In my experience, there are many one-hit wonders, people who played once and said, this game is not for me. Some of it is probably because of imbalance. Some of it is because of being overwhelmed. I was recently overwhelmed by the rules to 7 Wonders. It reminded me of my first time playing A&A. If we could hand them a book like this one, preferably with illustrations, they will see the panoply of options and they execute one. Have fun getting it done, even if they lose, and say to themselves, I want to come back and try that Berlin bank job. Taamvan, if you can do this, that would be great. Say it here, claim the rights. If you can't, can someone out there with a lot of time on their hands get this done? I was going to set up a Patreon account and ask for $5, $10, or $20 donations. Even more if you produce something special. In talking with Tristan, Larry, and Tom, and Levi, I've concluded that the audience for such materials or my videos, or even posts on this site, are not the pros. It's for the people who are being beat by the pros. It's for the beginners in the middle tier that could benefit and be encouraged not to shelve the game, but to try something new. I would include in such a book an explanation of bidding and handicapping. I have a video where I discuss this. Ivan's, Jerry's, depending on which side needs handicapping. This is a very practical suggestion and should not be ignored. Perhaps you could also address the difference between a one-day tabletop event and an online play-it-out to the end game. The tabletop discussion should include some house-ruled conditions. But thank you. Here's to playing Axis and Allies for the next 50 years. Pipit Martian wrote, I second Crockett's thoughts. A book I've written one myself and hope to sell it through HBG. I'm currently in the process of editing. My booklet addresses overall strategic concepts, not the specific strategies. So a playbook, when read in tandem with my project, will benefit beginners and intermediate players greatly. Also, while I don't address bids and handicapping, I've included a set of house rules that I've developed and playtested over the past couple of years. This rule sets depth and historical flavor accuracy while opening up new strategic options and may even eliminate the need for bids, and manages most of the above through addition rather than changes to OOB rules. And I just added a new one down at the bottom. It's called the Brian's Kill Box. Check out my game against Trollpin. Now let me also, I became a Patreon over at, that's not going to help me. Let's see if that'll go sideways. So this is Patreon, and I just signed up to be a And you're sideways. Sorry, guys. Let's not do that, I guess. Let's go to Facebook. I'm over on Facebook, too. This is the latest stuff from the War Room Facebook. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what happened. So this is Facebook, and so guy was talking about the Japan hitting the Russian factory in Kharbatsky, and who gets the stress, and there's rules discussions about end of game. And honestly speaking, as a playtester, end of game is hard to get to, even for playtesters. A guy came up with a spreadsheet he wants to play, which is pretty cool. And then a review of War Room by Daka. And there's Larry at PAX. Oh, doggone it. Why is it doing that? Okay. So they went to PAX, which is pretty cool, in Philly. And then there was quite a discussion about playing the game solo. And I wrote that I specifically know that's how Larry does it. He does these games solo to begin with, even with secret orders. And then, oh, there it is. How about that? 41 setup video by Austin Savat. So, and then there was quite a discussion about a Axis strategy. And for War Room, I think I wrote something. These guys were talking about Sea Lion. I've done that quite a bit. But did I write something or not? Yeah, I did. Japan zap Asia first, combined with the Germans and Italians to take India, plunder the oil fields, take over Africa. You cannot stop the U.S. You can own 90% of Eurasia. Don't lose Berlin. So there's a little quick video. Over on YouTube, I have a couple new videos. One that's Japan strategy. I didn't open those up. And that's not going to work. Okay, there's one more thing I was going to show you, and that was WhatsApp. So there's my War Room strategy for WhatsApp. Berlin recaptured, hope for fascism. And then a guy named Steven does these painted miniatures. He has an incredible map of bloodbath rules, which I've been trying to learn a little bit. So anyways, that's some of my Axis and Allies life. I suppose if I was to come up with a last statement to leave you with, I would say Merry Christmas. And, put Christ back in Christmas. As a Christian, I would encourage you to reopen that can of worms kind of thing. But important stuff. Christmas brings it to our minds. Difficult time of the year for many people, and I hope you have a good Christmas despite a lot of the challenges and a lot of the bone-crushing realities of life. All right. Have a great holiday season if you're not. And Crockett 36 out.